Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric here with Iraq Veteran 8888. Today we have a very special video for you. My friend Dudley here with NAGR came down and brought along a Thompson machine gun.
Don't all your friends bring machine guns over to the place?
The good friends do.
Okay.
So I'd like to consider you a good friend in this case. Good friends always bring cases of hand grenades and machine guns. So this is an M1A1. So this configuration, Dudley, is the type of configuration that we used in World War II, Second World War, right?
Pretty much this was the World War II subgun for the American GI. Big heavy boat anchor that it is, it's a beautiful piece of kit in my view.
Yeah.
It fires 45 ACP, which is what our units were carrying on their hips. Back when 9mm was pretty weak bullet technology, it was an expensive gun. If we went really deep into the history, you'd find that the Thompson itself wasn't a commercial success in the beginning because it was just too doggone expensive. It was right at $200 in real dollars back then, and if you adjusted that for inflation, I don't know what that would be. But the little known fact is that's one of the reasons a tax stamp is $200. So if you want to buy a transferable machine gun today and you have to have a $200 tax stamp, and they set that stamp at the same price as the Thompson because they thought it would be so outrageous no one would ever pay it. Of course today that $200 is the least of your worries for a transferable, because a transferable, for instance, Thompson, if it's a good one, is going to run you $20,000 and north.
That's right. You know, the Thompson, it really does have a special place in American culture, right? I mean, think about all the early movies where, you know, not only gangster movies where gangsters are using Thompson machine guns in various criminal activity, but also all the war films that you've seen Thompsons used in. The two most common configurations of this gun that you're gonna see out there are the M1A1, like we see here, with the shorter barrel. Real basic setup. Most of these were ran with sticks, although I'm sure some, you've probably seen some of the iconic photos of like Winston Churchill with a drum fitted in a Thompson. So there were drums out there, obviously, but the sticks were probably the most commonly used magazine in World War II. But then also like the 1927 Deluxe and some of the early like Chicago typewriters, as they were called, were more your gangster styles. And that's where you see the drum magazine, the forward grip, more of a long finned barrel. You notice also on this M1A1, there's no fins on the barrel. Those fins were to aid in cooling, right? So with this is a much more simplified version, but like you said, Dudley, you're right. These things were pretty expensive to produce, and without going down the rabbit hole, we have done a video before on the grease gun, all right? Now, the grease gun was a way for them to be able to get 45 ACP machine guns out to all of their various troops and make them a little bit more affordable and make them faster. So the Thompson did represent the Cadillac of machine guns of the war. I really do feel like these guns were the best subguns of the war.
If you look at the Thompson and the $200 price tag, and when the war started, of course, we didn't care about the price tag as much. We just had to get some weapons in troops' hands, so they bought them in large numbers, of course. But the grease gun itself was about somewhere around 1/10 the price to produce of this gun.
And some would argue that, for what they achieved with them, especially the slower rate of fire on a grease gun, that, maybe it actually ended up being a better gun for military environments because of its slow rate of fire. It's easier to control. Some would say that maybe the reliability wasn't quite up to snuff, but the beauty of them is that if you did screw one up, you could just go to the armory and draw another one and
grab another one.
Throw the broken one in a pile and go about your day. You're still at a 1-to-10 ratio on Thompsons.
And if you see our video, we're working on a video right now on where we climb out of an armored vehicle with a Thompson. No. Even this one's a little too long to be climbing out of an armored vehicle, and so that's another reason to use the grease gun.
Well, I want to shoot this thing. Let's shoot it.
What's stopping you?
Nothing. Let's go.
All right, let's see you first.
All right, we're going to get after it. All right, we're going to fire a couple of shots with the Thompson. I'm going to take a mag, and then Dudley's going to take a mag here. We've only got 2 magazines for this particular machine gun. 30 rounds of 45 ACP. There's a slot right here that you have to actually feed the magazine through that fits this slot on the actual magazine itself. It is an open bolt machine gun, so that means it fires from the open bolt position. So right now the bolt is locked to the rear. The Thompson's cool because it has a safety, which if you know a lot about the subguns of World War II, not many of them exactly have the concept of safety too much in the mind of the operator. So this gives you not only a full auto and semi-auto mode, which is kind of cool, but you also have a manual safety, safe and fire. So really that already puts it kind of in a league that is very different than other machine guns. Now I'm not saying that machine guns don't have safeties, but look at what the Russians were issuing, just open bolt machine guns with, they're really crude machine guns compared to the Thompson. So let's fire a couple of shots. So I'm gonna put a magazine into the magazine well here. The bolt is locked to the rear, okay? We're on semi-auto. We're gonna fire some semi-auto shots and then we'll go ahead and try this thing out in full auto. All right, so open bolt semi, and then we'll try to switch the rate of fire, okay? Let's give it a shot. Well, I have to say, on semi-auto, all right, now earlier, Dudley and I were discussing, I had a bit of a theory that soldiers in World War II probably used this bad boy on semi-auto a little more than you might think. I'm gonna leave it on semi-auto, okay? We're gonna shoot a plate that's even further away at 50 yards. It's a very effective tool on semi-auto, and I think people tend to discredit how well this particular weapon worked in the war, even on semi-auto, and that puts this into a class of its own. It's controllable and it's accurate in semi-auto. Now, if we're getting covered up, let's go ahead and expend the remaining rounds in the magazine to a threat that's danger close. All right, when the magazine's empty, I'm gonna pull the magazine out. We can place this machine gun on safe, and we can either leave it on full auto or set it to single. And now the bolt is locked to the rear and will not fall, okay? So it does have a manual safety. It's a very nice machine gun. It is hefty. I don't think I fired one of these in a long time, Dudley, but it's a very controllable gun. It's easy to shoot. It's accurate. So far, I can't think of a lot that there's not to like about this. All right, so I'm gonna step out of the way. Dudley, come on up here.
Except the hump negative, the hump negative nature of the weapon.
Yeah,
so
it is a hefty piece of gear.
You're gonna have to forgive me because I'm a lefty with a rifle.
Okay.
Dominant left eye.
I'm sorry.
But I know, so are some of my family because now I have to buy left-handed bolts.
Oh.
And so they got all these left-handed bolts, so when I pass on, they're gonna be like, what? None of them are left eye dominant.
So we're going to see how this works for a lefty.
I can shoot right-handed, but
show us how it's done.
It's a little bit embarrassing how badly I shoot machine guns, at least left-handed.
Give it a try. I feel like I fare quite well with it.
Well,
Renzo, why don't you take out some of the sodas?
I almost never fire this semi-auto.
Dude, that's effective.
Yep, but this is a
I
little
care about
more
combat
fun.
effectiveness.
I was trying to come across.
Yes, sir. Woo!
Yeah, I was trying to come across. I do know that I've heard from my kid's great-grandfather, who was Army Air Corps in World War II, and they gave him, when they pre-positioned into France after D-Day, they gave him a Thompson. He didn't know how to use it. And so he was kind of scared of it, but he told me that he was instructed basically to lay it down and let it recoil up. Let it recoil like this and spray that way. I'm not sure that's an effective tactic. Maybe that's not a smart move, but they were all a little bit afraid of it because they'd heard the gangster stuff.
That's right. That's right.
And if you hadn't been trained in it,
yeah,
you just try to figure out how to use it at a close range.
Let's load up some mags and shoot it some more.
Let's load up some more.
All right, let's do it. All right, Dudley, go ahead and give it another try. This time, maybe take out some of the plates semi, and you want to try to strafe those bottles again?
I'll just do semi-auto plates, and then the last rounds I'll do a quick strafe.
Awesome.
Okay.
This is cool, man.
All right.
Yeah, I really thought that these machine guns were very crude and clunky and very unwieldy, but they're really not, man.
Oh, I hurried that one.
Yeehaw. Woo!
And then, oh, a bunch of Jerry's came up over the hill.
Well, you got one.
It's not that easy to strafe and just hit things.
All right, so
why don't you show me?
Yeah, let me try and see if I can hit those bottles.
Okay.
Oh boy. Okay, I have a full magazine. I have 5 soda bottles. Now you saw how effectively Dudley and I both engaged targets on semi-auto with this Thompson, okay? But let's see if I can hit those sodas on full auto and get us a couple of kills here on these sodas.
Okay. Yeah, I done got showed up there. Nice job.
Well, I'll take what I can get. Now, I did hit that soda. For some reason, it didn't bust. It might have already had a little hole in it or a nick or whatever. You know, I have to say, my opinion of the Thompson has changed considerably in the course of this day. You know, I had been exposed to a few Thompsons in the past, and I'd mess with them here and there. And I used to always think that they were very unwieldy and clunky, as I said earlier. One thing, the sights are very crude on this particular model. It's just a basic stamped sheet metal with a rear aperture and a very wide and crude front sight post on this particular gun. I do like that you can put it into semi-auto mode, which is nice for those single shots. Because it is an open bolt firearm, there is a bit of a delay on the semi-auto. When you squeeze the trigger, you'll have to make sure you have a great sight picture and you got to maintain that sight picture and give enough time for that bolt to clunk. And when it does move forward, especially if you got some real stiff springs in this thing, it could actually make the gun move a little bit. So you have to kind of, shooting semi-auto open bolt requires a little bit of a nuanced approach in your weapons handling skills. But with a little bit of practice, as you could see, Dudley and I were very quickly and easily able to command these plates quite well in semi-auto, which to me is extremely, extremely impressive. And this is not something I knew about this gun. I knew that the Thompson had a semi-mode, and I knew that, you know, these are very iconic machine gun, but I can quickly see that a soldier who knows how to use this thing could certainly get some work done with this. I always approached these as being very inaccurate and sort of a bullet hose, but you can totally see where, when used in the proper type of context, this is definitely a force multiplying type of a weapon in a war like World War II. I could just, especially in close quarters. 45 ACP, big old hunkin' bowling ball of a cartridge going down range, moving slow. Certainly, you know, and soldiers not really wearing body armor back then. That wasn't as common. The Soviets employed some really crude armor that they would wear from time to time, but armor wasn't as common of a thing as it is now. So 45 ACP against unarmored targets is certainly going to, let's just say, dissuade them in whatever they end up doing. So you ready? You have another mag, Dudley? And
Dissuade them Nazis.
I'm gonna take my empty mag and load it.
Let's see.
Wow.
Let's see if I can hold it on that far plate down there in full auto.
Do it. Woo!
I don't know how many that was on the plate, but enough to dissuade a couple of Nazis from charging our position. So,
yeah,
you know,
I think
which is
so.
what we're trying to do, right? So now we've been doing either semi-automatic or mag dumps, but what was probably more likely is engaging multiple targets with bursts.
Let's try that.
I think that's probably more realistic anyway, from
Yeah.
my perspective, and so even though the mag dumps are fun, let's see if we can go back and forth, transition between the mid-level plates there.
Wonderful. Let's try it.
And see.
I'll try the same thing.
Okay. All right. And boom.
Going for it. Well, okay.
I mean, they're not far away, but
Yeah.
but you got to practice that transition. And I will say, even though we can make fun of the sights, they're pretty basic, pretty
Yep.
simple.
Well, the nice thing about basic sights is that there's not a lot that can go wrong. They're very simple. Granted, crude, there's nothing to break and go wrong. So I tend to agree. I agree. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the selector set to full auto. I'm going to leave it on fire. And I am going to try and do very short, maybe 2 and 3 shot bursts with some degree of accuracy to see if maybe that is a good way tactically to deploy and use this type of gun in that situation. So I'm going to basically do essentially what you just did, but I'm going to try to fire a little less. Just do a 2 or 3 shot, maybe even, I might even try to do single shots with it on full auto still. How about we try that? Just for fun. Okay, we're rolling. All right. That's how it's done.
Yeah, baby. That was that's an efficient use of ammunition.
Dudley, I really appreciate you bringing this Thompson out for us to check out. This is a really cool piece of hardware, and I think that I learned some stuff about this gun that I wasn't quite as nuanced on, and I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to do that. And so you guys have a YouTube channel too. How can people find you guys?
Yeah, gunrights.org is our website, but our channel, National Association for Gun Rights, we do a bit of shooting. We're young in the world. We're not a veteran like you and on the YouTube world. But we've got some political content. We keep people up to date, but we're starting to do a lot of weapons, fun weapons shooting. We have a couple of toys to play with. Not quite as many as you do, but certainly some unique ones. And hopefully you'll come out and play with us out there in Colorado where our headquarters is.
We will. So before we end today, give people a bit of an idea of what NAGR is about, what your mission statement is, because obviously from a standpoint of making content about guns, I mean, at the end of the day, if we're all about Second Amendment rights, then that means that we have to go out and exercise those rights, like go out and have fun and shoot guns and share cool stuff like this with people so they know it's a thing. So it becomes a part of the ingrained culture of the Second Amendment, right? Part of loving the Second Amendment is wanting to go out and run machine guns, right? And shoot cool stuff, right? So I think it's great what y'all are doing because y'all are trying to kind of show ambassadorship and appreciation of the Second Amendment by virtue of getting people more involved and showing people cool stuff. But from a political and gun rights organization front, like what's NAGR doing on that front? Like give us just a little quick synopsis on that.
Well, as I like to say, we do what most people wish the NRA did. We're the largest gun rights group in America after the NRA, and we have been for quite some time. We employ quite a few staff members. I think we're about 70 now. Very young, passionate people who want to make these things fully legal. So there's no government intervention in owning firearms. Government shouldn't even know what firearms people have, much less register them and control them that way. Law-abiding citizens don't need those controls. And we think that makes for a stronger country. We're based out of Colorado, but we're all around the country. And the only reason we're based out of Colorado is I've always refused to move to DC. I've been a gun lobbyist now for 29 years, and it's what I do for a living, but I'm a gun nut. It's why I wouldn't move to DC, and I like shooting, and if I had my way, I wouldn't be doing anything in politics, but that's what I have to do for a living, and that's what my day job is. But as I get older, I spend a lot more time at the range, let's put it that way. I try to avoid heading to Washington, D.C. as much as possible. There are very few people I want to see out there.
Sometimes you just got to do it, right?
Sometimes
get out there.
Sometimes, unfortunately, I have to a lot. However, our job as an organization is to be a forward observer, is the way I put it. Of course, we're talking proverbially, not literally, for the humor impaired. We're the forward observers. We have people in the state capitol here in Georgia. We have people in Texas, all around the country, as well as Washington, D.C. And we try and call in the artillery strikes. And the artillery strike is activists, individuals who put pressure on politicians, because that's the only way they're going to listen. We don't really care if they actually listen, we just care how they vote.
That's
and the only way they're going to know that is when we can call in and your forward observer says, hey, add 50 fire for effect. Put pressure on that politician on, for instance, a red flag law or any number of gun controls that come through Congress, and that's our role.
Awesome.
We don't like to lie to people. We just straight up and tell them what's happening and who's doing what to their rights, and we like to come to influencers who have big audiences and know a lot of people and say, hey, spout this out. We love working with other groups and who share a principle and strategy, and we do it all the time. So happy to be out here.
Good deal. Well, I appreciate you coming out, Dudley. We're going to have a lot of other videos coming down the pipeline. He also brought out an MP40, which is really cool. We're going to be checking that out here in the future video. Also, make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe to NAGR's YouTube channel. I'm going to put a link down below, okay? Make sure you subscribe because we're actually going to have a comparison dropping between the Thompson and the MP40. Not to spill the beans, but a little teaser here that is coming down the pipeline on Dudley's channel.
And so you'll be on our channel.
I'll be on the channel.
That's great.
Guys, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate everybody watching here today. Go over to Ballistic Ink and pick yourself up a snazzy new t-shirt. That's one way you can support our efforts. Also, go over and become a member of NAGR. That would help Dudley's advocacy and his ability to fight for our rights. We've all got a part to play in this, and I really appreciate what Dudley and his organization is doing, and I'm really stoked that we got to have them come out and visit. Have yourselves a great day. Many more videos on the way. Thanks, bud.
Thank you, Eric.
All right. See ya.